What's going on today, everybody? Well, just as soon as I decide to do something, instantly don't want to do it. It turns out that this port and polish is going to be a lot more work than I was anticipating in the beginning. It's not that I'm not afraid of the work. I'm afraid of messing something up seriously. I just spent a lot of money on these brand new heads right here, and I don't want to mess them up. So I was working on these old ones, trying to get things figured out with them and see what the best method was, see how this went, try to finish it, try to gauge how long it was going to take, and I wasn't happy with how things were going. I was trying to work on it, and I would get it on like the head surface or the valve surface, just trying to be careful even. So I don't want to mess them up in any way, and they flow good enough, I guess. I'll live with it. Anyways, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's where I was trying to start on this combustion chamber. I was having problems right here. I was getting way too close to the valve seat for my liking. And it would just take one little slip up and I'm in this valve seat and I'm scarring up this valve seat. When these ones are brand new, I mean, they're shiny as heck. So another spot was right here. You can see I'm starting to drill or sand into the actual mating surface. There's another one right here too. So that's going to be super hard to clean up. It just looks like it's going to be a bigger pain than it's worth. Now, I did have some pretty good luck with this internal chamber. Now you can see this internal chamber. You can see where the sandpaper was scratching on the valve seat itself. So that's what the first grit versus OEM looks like. And then we can go up here too. You can kind of see the difference. Maybe if I bring the difference. So it does look better. One of the problems I'm having is this knife edge. I can't get quite into that crevice right there. But I managed to get the big seam out that's on this side. Here's a better picture of. So there's a giant seam on the outside there. So things were coming along. This was turning out pretty good, but I'm scared to get into some brand new heads on polishing up this center part. Here's the brand new heads, and these ones have actually a little bit better casting marks. I guess right here is pretty bad, but this side mark isn't as prominent. Another thing that I was worried about is this valve seat in here. I don't want to be going up and marring that one up either. Here's what the top combustion chamber looks like. So it's not bad. We'll get to just lapping these valves and get the valves set in there. So rather than spend a whole bunch of time and potentially mess things up, I'm just gonna lap these valves and put these heads on. They should be good enough. I do want the performance, but I don't have the confidence in myself right now. I could work on it, but it would take me way too long, and I just don't want to spend that much time on it. I want to get the car running and driving. That's my main purpose. And parting and polishing heads can happen at any time. You can buy a used set of heads and get them tanked and polish them on the side after this is working. And I think that's the road that I might go down. And that way I'll have a set down in like my back pocket. And maybe I'll down the road a long ways work on getting a used engine and sleeve it and do a stroker motor out of it. Maybe that's years and years and years down the road. But for right now, I just want to get the car running, and I'm just going to lap these valves, get the car running, and put things back together so we can go drive the car again. want to run this down to where you can barely hear it, and then you lift it up, turn it a little bit, set it down, and that will pull some of the grit back into the where you're trying to work, and then it will get louder, and you would just work it until it gets quiet on you. Gets quiet, changes pitch. And I've been running it down to where it's really, really quiet, because that means that you're breaking down all those particles as fine as you can get them. And that means they're going to be leaving smaller scratches. So the smaller the particle that's in between the two, the smaller the scratch is going to be. And I want to have it nice and polished, because if any carbon gets built up on it, it will become a problem. That's the exhaust. This is the intake, a normal one, or the old ones. But I want to have it as smooth as I can get it, and that way there's no problems. After a while of doing this, the amount of time between when you reset it and get more grit underneath there and when it gets quiet goes a lot quicker. That means you have smaller and smaller particles that you're breaking down. We want those smaller particles, so the quicker that it breaks down, the faster we're getting to our polished state. See? It gets real quiet quick as opposed to when we first started. For the very last one, I like to run it when it's really quiet for a while. Make sure to clean all of it out, because it's sandpaper basically, and if any of it gets down into your valve system, then you're effectively putting sandpaper into the engine. So I'm going to go through when I get all done with this, before I put everything for final assembly together, and make sure that everything's nice and clean. You're going to clean off both sides of your valves, and if you're using a rag, you're trying to make it count. Like I have a couple spots on here where the rag was leaving behind some grit. You'd want to get as much of that off as we can. So now that that one's done, I'll give it a little bit more oil just in case. And if you ever get any of this grit onto the stem of the valve, be sure to clean it off before you put it in here, because these ones and the inside are both polished, and you don't want them to have any grit or rocks stuck down in there. So make sure to clean that off. And when you get done, it should be nice and quiet. Not done. Done already. Okay, so I've got a couple of I've got these all in there in their base, but something that I've noticed is when I spent a lot of extra time on this one, and it doesn't like to move. And I just went through and did this one, and it's the same way, but these ones will move real easily. So the way that I think about that is if the surface between the valve and the head have more contacting patch, the harder it should be to turn it. If there's less of a contacting patch, then it should be easier to turn. Like these intakes have a considerably less area or bandwidth than these exhaust ones. And these exhaust ones are a lot harder to turn. But these intake ones are pretty easy to turn. Besides this one got ground down, I'm assuming, a lot more than everything else. Because this one definitely spins a lot easier, and this one spins a lot easier than this one even. And this exhaust valve spins pretty easy. This one's what led me to it all, to think about it all, because it barely spins. I mean, I can kind of get it to spin, but not really. So I'm going to keep working on these and see if I can polish them up a little bit better and get that grit or that mating surface as small as I can and without as many grooves as I have in it now. So we'll get to that, start knocking this stuff out. Cool, well, I'm going to be done for the night. I've got that pretty well set up. I've got some more work to do on it, but it's just the same. Put some grit in between the two and lap them. Just keep going for it. I'm going to look up online to see if there's anything else that I need to be doing, but that should be it. So we'll get to that. We'll finish this one out. I'll finish the other one out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a killer rest of your day. Peace!